Well, good afternoon and welcome, everyone. We, of course, are videotaping our session today, and we have a couple of housekeeping rules. First of all, if you would, please make
Carnation Farm, which is out east of here, and we're turning it into a camp for 1,200 children each year that have terminal and serious illnesses. And so we met with the president, Brad Alford of Nestle, the largest food processing company. And one of the things that, it was a very difficult negotiation, because when you go into a purchase negotiation, we went for about an hour, and I said to Brad, I said, I've come to two conclusions. One is that you don't want to sell this farm to us. You're an unwilling seller. The second conclusion is we're a very willing buyer, and we want to buy it. Now, my objective is how to convince you that you should sell this to us, and it's something we could afford. And so the next hour we worked on that, and we were successful. One of the things that I said was about time, and this was very interesting. My partner is one of the senior execs at Costco, and he said, you know, if we don't do this deal, I'm done. I'm not going to do one of these camps. I spent 2 years and invested a lot of time. One of our other partners is Paul Newman. Some of you might know him. The Paul Newman. He's about as good a shape as Vic. He's 82 years old, really a delightful human being, and came out to see us, in fact, and his executive assistant said, you know, Paul doesn't come to see too many people. He's 82, and the travel from his home in Connecticut out here is a big deal, and he's taking his personal time. That is his most precious time, is his personal time. This is the point I'm making here, is that when you look at this checkbook and calendar issue, and the calendar being your personal time, more convenient than washing a car at home. There's lots of things to do at home. You've got the honey-do list, you've got the things with your family, you've got just to enjoy yourself. The time saver, another 26.8. The better for the environment was the surprise, and it wasn't quite as strong, 13.4. Does a better job at 11.3. The price, interestingly, price is not the issue. Time is much more of a concern. Now, let me explain a little bit about price, because we're going to talk more about it. And price is critical to your company. Buying decisions are really based on emotion and justified by logic. So the actual price that they pay kind of justifies the decision. So if you have a discount program, you'll see sales go up, and it's because they can justify that decision that to take some of their personal time and convert it over to you to do a task that needs to be done. So those are the ones that came out. Do not like to waste your car is 8%. Better for your car is only 4%. And no locations available was 3.3. And then a lot of miscellaneous reasons. Which car wash do you use most often? Now, this particular variable was blind. They didn't know that we were working for Brown Bear. Could have been anybody. And 58.8% use Brown Bear. So that is a good indication of what your market share is. You really have a strong market share in this particular area. Elephant is at 8.7%, and then there's all of the smaller ones out there that's kind of the drive-throughs, and Shell has them, and they're throughout the community at another 32.5. So it's really the biggest immediate competitor is Elephant, and then it's all the others as a group. How satisfied are you with the quality of work done by your car, which would represent some of your customers too, but this is broad base, is about a 7.9. So generally they're pretty satisfied. In fact, 65.9%, 2 out of 3, gave a very high rating, and again, lots of homogeneity in that. And why did they give the rating for their high level of satisfaction? This is everyone in the car wash business. This is your competition and you too. They said that they could clean the tire wells better. They do a pretty good job. Sometimes I drive away thinking they could have dried it off better or not leave so many smears. For the most part, the job is well done. The car is clean and dry, and they are quick and reasonably priced. There are no lines and done within 5 minutes. Generally satisfied. It's not perfect, but it's convenient and quick. I don't have to get a soap or bucket out and save that task and that time. Now, when we look at how important is the time-saving issue, And this is another ordinal scale, 0 to 10. And so time is right at the top here at 8.2. 3 out of 4 saying time is a big issue. And you see, and I see, and I am one of those customers that is working on my BlackBerry and working on my notes, preparing for a meeting with Vic on his car wash service, or Lance. But they're doing a lot of things, or they can just be reading. But it is a time saving to having it done through you. Now, as far as the convenience of location, that's another one. 8.2 mean rating, 3 out of 4. So again, it's relating to the convenience of locations, and that will probably drive to a large extent what your future location strategies are of other locations. Now, how important is price? Not quite as strong. It is strong for those 1 out of 2. They're saying they do look at that $7.95 for the basic car wash, or the $12.95 for the very best. And then there's those that really it isn't an issue. It's again, it's more of the time values. The quality of the car wash in their decision is essential. And it's got to be done right. 8.2 mean rating. 7 out of 10 are saying that that is really critical. If it's not done right, it isn't the type of job that they expect. They want it corrected. And then why they haven't used a commercial car wash service in the past 12 months. So some of them simply enjoy that. That was that small modal class, that 1 out of 8 that says, I don't use them. I enjoy washing it myself. It's too expensive. I'll use a term. I spent some time in Alaska, and I learned a term up there called tighter than bark on a tree, and that's the case with some people. And I'm accused of that in my company of Mr. Tighter than bark on a tree. There are those that are concerned about that. Concerned about the car damage, 10.6%, and inconvenient locations at 8.8, and then poor quality was minimal. So it's really, they do have their own preferences. There are some that have a price issue. When we looked at what would encourage them to use a car wash, if it was less expensive, you buy the mark in essence. If it were brushless, could not damage the finish on my car. Maybe if it was free. Oh, don't you love those guys? You know, there's always those out there that want it free, better location, and that is closer to my home. Now, what car wash companies have you heard of? This is really a good measure of how well your advertising and marketing has worked. Brown Bear has a 90.1% awareness level. That is amazing. We seldom see that. Costco has that, Nordstrom has that, Toyota has that. Some of the finest companies have that. Very few achieve 90.1%. In the political area, I'm married to the former chair of King County, Cynthia Sullivan, and she would have dreamed and wished and prayed to achieve a 90.1% awareness level in her county, and never got that. In fact, Ron Sims, who's a good friend of mine, the county exec, doesn't have that. The mayor of Seattle doesn't have that. So you have achieved very high awareness level among very few companies. Elephant at 41.8, and then it just drops off from there as far as awareness level. Now, nothing happens without awareness. Nothing in marketing. It's the first variable. If they haven't heard of you, they're never going to be your customer. It's just as simple as that. Have you seen any advertisements for car washes? 34% have, 2 out of 3 have not. And then have you heard any advertisements specifically at 16.9% for car washes? And what do you remember? Well, a lot about price. Price coupons, $3 off the best price. They're good for the environment. They recycle water. I just remember the bear statute, and that stands out. So, and that's the bear statute really is a very clever and one that the market relates to. I don't know whether you remember the former mayor of of Seattle by the name of Charlie Royer. Does anybody remember him? Yeah. Well, I was the guy that did the research for the Woodland Park Zoo on the savannah, and I actually like animals, and I said, well, you know, maybe we ought to study this thing about having the animals more outside and then and not in cages, and it might be better perceived by the public. So that's where the whole savannah and the elephant house really started with, was simple questions like that. And then the question was, how are we going to pay for this? And so I went to Charlie Royer, and at that time, Charlie was a chain smoker. I remember sitting in his office and trying to convince him that he should allocate some of the Seattle budget for the re-engineering of the zoo. And he said, Jim, why should I do that? I've got so many other needs. I've got roads to fix, potholes to fix. I've got health service requirements, police, and all this. And I said, Charlie, let me ask you a simple question. Who had greater awareness, and who was loved more? You came out of you were a broadcaster, he was a newscaster. You, or was it Lassie? And he laughed and he said, well, it was Lassie. I said, you're right. The market loves the animals at the zoo. They can identify this. Bear was a brilliant decision on your part, because he does convey a lot about your company. Are you aware of the brown bear car wash? 92% were. Okay, it's amazing. 92% specifically of your company. It's just, it's remarkable. Now, part of it's drive-by, part of it's what you do on the advertising, all of your point-of-sale material, all of your uniforms. It's well recognized. Have you washed your car at Brown Bear in the last 6 months? Well, 42% have, 42.5, and 57% have not. The difference between those two, you know, they will never know what they're doing from day to day. So it largely, you've got a good usage factor. Those that have not used you, they enjoy washing cars themselves. They think the automatic ones do not do a good enough job. The prices are so expensive, and they don't do a good enough job. Those roller things get the rims and the tires good enough. I still see dirt when it dries. You know, I'm going to kind of, we heard a lot about rims and tires. And rims and tires are important. One of my first studies was resulted in a major agreement with Michelin, and it was with another company that was a large tire company. We learned a lot about tires. Tires are a big deal. Wheels are a big deal. And you know, the time and attention that you pay to those, they spend a lot of money on their tires and their wheels. And it's not, we do work in the car business, and it's not uncommon where you see people that will spend $30,000, $40,000 for a new vehicle and then spend another $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for wheels and tires. And so there is something there. Look at that calendar. It is important. And so that's an area that they look at very carefully as far as whether or not they come back. How would you rate the overall quality of Brown Bear car washes on a 0 to 10 scale? This is amazing. This is an 8.1 mean rating. You do have 0.9% that doesn't think you do a good job. I will remind you, however, that 9/10 of the population, no matter what you do, it isn't good. And you should send them to Elephant. I worked for years with the Nordstrom Company, and one thing I asked Mr. Bruce, I said, what do we do? You know, I can't make this customer happy. What would I do? And he said, well, you know, there's about 4 or 5% that no matter what you do are never going to be happy. And the best thing you can do is to just be honest and say, you know, we really tried to make you happy, but it might be in your best interest to really shop at Macy's. And we would refer them to Macy's, and then Macy's got that. We call them Upitas. They're kind of uninspired pain in, I'll let you finish the rest of it. You just can't please them. And it's, it's there. But 70 out of 100 just think you're wonderful. In fact, there were lots and lots of perfect 10s. Why they give a rating on a verbatim basis? They do a good job. They're friendly. They give a reasonable price. I was satisfied. The car was clean. It was almost clean enough for me. My husband is very meticulous. It has nothing to do with their quality. He's just a detailed guy. It's easy to use. The price is right. Close by, and the attendants were there when I needed help. How you pay, and they hose everything well. I like the prep way. They prep the car before it goes through. I like the tire scrubbers and the way they dry rag the car. We heard a lot of that. And the quality of the wash and the people, the liquids they use, and the water they use, and how clean the car is when they are done. So there are lots of good things that they're saying about the emotional aspect about their Chariots. And again, this is their Chariots. You know, there's a few things in life that are really precious, and their Chariots are one of them. When you think about Brown Bear Car Wash, how would you describe it? This was in their words. It's handy. It's close to where I live. I go by it. I don't have to go out of my way to get there. The personnel handling is efficient. They don't give you a high pressure to take the higher price one with the wax or whatever. They just offer it. And I always go for the high one. And they always ask me, and I'm thinking about, geez, you know, this is my Chariot, you know, this is my classic T-Bird, and so I justify it, you know, there'll never be another one like this. And then I think of my wife's car when I take hers through. I think, oh, you know, this is her Chariot. This is the most important person in my life. Oh, I'll go for the very best. And it's just, there's no pressure. I just always do it. And even when I've got my Yaris, does anybody know what a Yaris is? You guys were even nice when I think it was Mr. North. I think you might have been there. But I have one of the few Yarises. And I was really pleased that you didn't laugh at me when I went through. The Yaris is about 84 inches long. It's a Japanese car. It's a high mileage. It's a Toyota, obviously, and it's not very expensive, but it's a cute little car, and so I justify the very best for that too. It's quick. It goes through pretty fast after you get to gas, and it's down. It's down to a decent job. The car comes out mostly clean. The price is in the range of what we expect to pay. How many years have you used Brown Bear? And the average is about 8.4 years. Lots of newcomers in that 1 to 6, 1 out of 2, and then you got some long-standing at 16.8. How do you think the services offered by Brown Bear have changed? Well, 11.3% are saying it's improving, and those that say it's about the same, 74.8%. Later on, we're going to learn a lot about this question. It gave us far more insight, so hang on to that. It doesn't look very interesting at this point, but it will in a minute. And we asked the question, why did you give it that response? Because they are fairly consistent. There's not much change in the system or operation. They haven't moved their location. It's the same in both locations, so I know what to expect. They're good people. They are just nice people. They're polite, courteous. I feel comfortable about them. I trust my car with them. I have a classic Cadillac, and I don't worry about my car. I remember my dad had a classic Cadillac, at least he thought it was. I thought it was the biggest embarrassment I ever had. Here I was at 16 years old, and he had this Cadillac. Remember the Cadillac? This was in 1961. They had fins on it, and they were literally 28 feet long. And I remember coming to a stoplight in Tacoma, and there was really, you know, this is how 16-year-olds think. There was this beautiful young other 16-year-old, and she was in her car, and she looked at me and smiled, and I thought, boy, this is a good start. You know, she smiled at me, and then she started the front bumper, and her eyes went all the way back to those fins, and there was no more left of her. So that was an embarrassing car, but this guy obviously trusts you with him. There are a lot of people, and you don't have to worry about those. They are very consistent. Again, we hear a lot about consistency. And one thing I noticed was that when all the snow and crud went away, they handled that with hiring more staff to keep the line moving and to try to help people with convenience, even when there was a lot of people waiting to get their car washed. So they kind of stepped up to it as the needs arrived. Now, how likely are you to wash your car at Brown Bear? This is a test of loyalty. This is what every company dreams of. And the mean here, the overall probability was an 87.7. Those with at least an 80% probability represented 81.5, high kurtosis, lots of homogeneity. And then you have that 4.4% that aren't loyal. So no matter what you do, you're just, it's just not going to be good enough. And I don't want you to beat yourself up. There's just that remnant out there that are difficult to please, and you still have to be nice to them, but elephant may be a good solution. Based on the past experience, I've used the self-service, but sometimes go to Brown Bear because I'm not sure, because I'll for sure have them go and knock the dirt off my car, because my car gets dirty and because of something that maybe is healthy or something that is this grab-and-go market. Yeah. You got a gold mine here. This is amazing. Yeah. Lots of opportunities. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
All right.
I guess at this time we'll turn the meeting over to Mr. North.
Time to turn the cameras off?
Does that mean you plan not to tell the truth?
This means I have nothing to say, we're recording.
Nothing?
No, it's just a full meeting, I didn't plan any additional topics for conversation.
Does anyone have any comments or suggestions? Lance, anything? Then I guess the meeting is adjourned.
We do have some Sonics tickets to give away, so anybody interested in Sonics tickets? Convenient time.
Can we keep the pen and paper?
Thank you very much.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?